I'm just trying to decide if I'm comfortable even talking about that.
This one's wife. Paramount CEO desperate to escape. Those are usually the sentiments of individuals who find themselves with the misfortune of having to deal with this one's wife. Could you imagine spending time with her? As you know, I have when I explained in my When This One's Wife Met HG series. More of that coming in the future. I haven't forgotten. She is boring and self-absorbed, and this shines through. Any conversation with her will soon be identified as vacuous. I suppose one could tolerate her for the 2 minutes of the "have you travelled far" kind of conversation when meeting her, but anything beyond that would have you wanting to stick a fork in your eyeball to alleviate the tedium. Devoid of ideas, completely wrapped up in herself, she's a very boring individual to have to deal with. Harry wouldn't have a problem with that, because he's easily amused. All she would have to do is offer him a blue crayon and a green crayon, and he would cry with delight, and then run off and start colouring in something on the wall. And of course, the lashings of spicy poontang kept old Fantapubes occupied. These days, most people want to have nothing to do with her. The A-list have distanced themselves from them. A raft of supposed friends no longer bother with them. Oprah, Serena Williams, the Clooneys, the Beckhams, etc. And any brands that are associated with her are quick to distance themselves from her. Witness the behaviour of Dior. When it was suggested that she might be a brand ambassador, they basically said, not a fucking chance of that happening. This one's wife, as I've reported previously, sought to triangulate Netflix with Paramount. And when she attended the premiere of the One Love film about Bob Marley, she was there seen with the CEO and president of Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon, Brian Robin. Undoubtedly, this one's wife will have seen that as an opportunity for her to shill. She won't have seen his wife. All she would see is a pile of Benjamins stacked up wearing a linen suit. Her narcissism would essentially be saying, get control of this individual, big residual benefit standing nearby. Get control of this individual, big residual benefit standing by. Now remember, she, because she's an unaware narcissist, doesn't think of things in terms of control or fuel, character traits or residual benefit, but rather her narcissism would compel her to think, actually, here's a potential business opportunity. Here, let me have a conversation with him. There she would therefore hoover this CEO, who presumably she's not met before, therefore he's a tertiary source. He comes up on her radar, and her narcissism essentially scans him. Is he under control, yes or no? If he is, let's get some fuel out of him. Let's see if we can get a residual benefit from him, namely some kind of deal. Set it in motion for your people and our people to get together. If the scan reveals that he's not under control, then the narcissism will dictate to her that she needs to do something to get him under control. This one's wife would have been pleased as a consequence of being pictured alongside Brian Robin. It would enable her, of course, to manage that facade. Look, here I am, looking important with the CEO and some other woman. Oh, it's his wife, is it? Okay. And yes, the ginger bloke, that's this one. She only sees people as appliances. So it's like everybody around her, if you suddenly put on a pair of glasses, you didn't see them as human beings with 2 eyes, a nose and a mouth, etc. Instead, what you would see is easy to control, huge fuel, limited character traits, limited residual benefits. And then difficult to control, low fuel, medium character traits, decent residual benefits. Each individual essentially becomes distilled down to those 4 elements, as if you're looking at a can of beans. Tomato sauce, tasty, nutritious, delicious. The narcissist doesn't see a person as a person, but rather objectifies them. They're seen subconsciously in the way that the narcissist can benefit from that person. Thus, Brian Robin would be viewed in such terms as to how easy he is to control. Fuel provision might be decent. Character traits, substantial. Residual benefit, huge. And thus, her narcissism will cause her to home in on him for the purpose of securing that residual benefit. But as you're about to see, it didn't quite work out that way, because Mr. Robin wasn't interested. Let's take a look at the lack of interaction that occurred.
Ready, yeah.
Well, that tells you everything you need to know. There was no interaction whatsoever. Mr. Robin didn't look at this one's wife or this one, didn't speak to them, didn't turn to face them, and once the photograph was taken, he couldn't wait to get away. He couldn't wait to escape, which demonstrates once again that people simply aren't interested in them or recognize, oh God, it's them. Please don't make eye contact with them. Oh no, they're coming over. Jesus Christ, I said don't look at them. He didn't even engage in the normal politeness of turning and acknowledging, perhaps giving a nod, a few words spoken to one another, a shake of the hands, etc. No. They were photographed together, and of course, Harry smiled. This one's wife attempted to put on a smile, but instead had her usual fixed rictus grin as she struggled to smile as a consequence of the new face that she's sporting. And thereafter, Mr. Robin and his partner wanted to get away. They wanted to escape the presence of the Sussexes. It's not a surprise. Their reputation stinks. Even if their reputation didn't stink, they're not the most interesting people to be around. Harry's okay. He's used to chatting away to people as a consequence of his role being in the royal family. He's used to making the small talk, and he's quite good at taking an interest in people as well. This one's wife just feigns an interest in people. She doesn't care about what you've got to say or who you are or where you've come from. All she's interested in is making herself look good, controlling you, drawing fuel, etc. She doesn't really listen to what people have to say because she's too busy preening herself, pushing her hair, playing with the ratty locks that are falling down. Instead, her narcissism is focused on what am I getting out of this interaction, not what am I providing. And therefore, even if you didn't think that their reputation stank beforehand, you would soon find, actually, she's not really very interesting to be around. The only people that tolerate her are those that have to, i.e. staff, those that think that they can get something out of her, for instance, Omid Scobie, Marcus Anderson, and those that are on the payroll. Everybody else thinks, no, not only boring, but thoroughly unpleasant. And it's quite clear that Mr. Robin, the CEO and president of Paramount and Nickelodeon, recognised that to be the case with this one's wife also. A singular fail, and caught in representation of how another person doesn't want anything to do with them. Anybody else would start to realise there's a bit of a problem here. Either I'm not using strong enough deodorant, or there's something about me that people don't like. But this one's wife, she's utterly oblivious. She will, of course, recognise that they walked away without acknowledging her, which will have wounded her. But she can't see that it's down to the fact that her reputation stinks. She can't see that it's down to the fact that she's boring and unpleasant to be around. She doesn't understand that because the narcissism will never let her, and this is why she can't change her course of action. Even if somebody were to tell her, well-intentioned, look, you need to do these things to rehabilitate your image, starting with disappearing for a year to try and press a reset button. She can't fathom it out, and as we know, Madam does not take advice from anybody else. Another instance of a failure by this one's wife, and it just adds to the long, long list of people who can't stand to be around her and need to make an escape. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.